Today I'm going to rank every CS2 and CSGO cheat developer. Some of them haven't made a CS2 cheat and probably won't ever make one, but it's still worth ranking them just to see how they all fare against each other. I'll be ranking them based on the quality of their cheat and the consistency on how often they actually updated and cared throughout their entire cheat's lifespan. This is not a tier list based on only how good each cheat is, but rather the person as a whole. And yes, I know that a lot of them weren't the sole coders and that many of them had help from other people, but that's not the point. With all that said, let's begin the tier list. Let's start with Kolo. Even though he was forced to retire, Kolo is one of the OG cheat devs that was around for over 10 years. He's mostly known from interwebs, which included a bunch of other cheats for other games, but I'll only be talking about his CS cheat. Back when CSGO was new, he put a lot of time and effort into his cheat, but around 2017, he stopped caring and rarely updated the cheat even after it was giving red trust. C tier. Serge. Serge was the dev behind Fanta, and Fanta in 2017 was easily the best semi-rage cheat and the pilot for future cheats. Serge would update Fanta a lot in 2017 and 2018, but the security of Fanta was so bad and it got cracked so easily. There also wasn't even a loader for Fanta for years. It was literally just an exe file that you could share with anyone. Serge also lied about every Fanta build being unique and custom. Fanta constantly got detected in 2018 and 2019, and Serge released an even worse version of Fanta called Mango, which was just the same cheat but with some features stripped. Serge never took any feedback or criticism and always based it on user or config error. F tier. Takedown. Takedown is one of the more mysterious ones on the list. He's never really shown what kind of person he is, and he's always remained behind the curtain. Inuria is one of the longest standing cheats for CS, and is still respected to this day. Inuria has been cracked and detected a few times, but those times were only really when every single internal cheat got detected. Some of the detections weren't even full detections, like in the late 2019 ban wave. While Inuria has never really gotten many updates or features being added, it's always been relatively safe to use, and it's always been a solid legit cheat. A tier. Badster and Swiss Guy. Even though Badster was making his own cheat once upon a time ago, since it never got released, I'm only going to count his work on Aimware. Since Swiss Guy and Badster are both devs of Aimware, I'm putting them together since I'm not sure who's responsible for what update and so on. Aimware has been slumming for the last 6 years, with CS2 especially, since without Poac, it seems to have gotten much worse. CS2 Aimware has gotten detected so many times, and it's probably the worst CS2 rage cheat. But since I don't know what updates it did in CSGO, I'll be charitable and put them in D tier. Llama. Llama was actually a really good competent dev for a good couple of years. Onetap used to be one of the biggest cheats for CSGO, arguably the best H3H cheat at one point. It was private, then went public, and was way better than Aimware. Onetap got cracked a bunch of times, and of course detected a bunch of times, but Llama never let that deter him into updating the cheat and keeping it strong. But in 2021, he stopped updating it completely. I have a video planned for the history of Onetap, so for now, I'll put Llama in D tier. Shark Laser. Shark Laser was really good at finding ways to crash or lag servers, mostly known for his work on Mutiny and then Onetap for a while. Shark Laser was an okay coder, but he seemed to struggle with almost all the H3H aspects. He spent more time trying to get fake angles patched rather than making a good cheat. Mutiny without exploits was pretty bad, and despite the cheat being invite only, no one wanted or cared for it. All Shark Laser was good for was finding exploits. F tier. Poac. Poac was one of the main devs for Aimware for the majority of CSGO, so he'll get the most of the credit for the state of Aimware, and that's not a good thing. Aimware was almost always consistently mediocre. He pushed out really buggy builds, and there were times Aimware was laughably bad. In the early years of CSGO, he was a pretty good dev, so there's that. Can't judge his new cheat called GX10 since it's still not out. C tier. Esoteric. Esoteric was the best dev back then, but since 2018, he stopped caring. Still, his work was very good and inspired so many other cheat devs. Even with the extremely rare updates Skeet got, it somehow still remained one of the best cheats, so gotta give him credit where credit is due. B tier. Sophie. I know Neverlose has a bunch of devs, but Sophie is known to be the one behind the rage bot of Neverlose, which is what most people care about. Neverlose has never really had a bad moment. It was private when it first came out, then made public. It's always been a top 3 HVH cheat since the day it's come out, and always had constant and consistent updates. A tier. Philip. Fatality is one of the best rage cheats for CS2, but even during CSGO, it was a solid HVH cheat. It did have its rough spots, and of course it's been cracked a bunch of times, but Philip seems to still care and still be updating and improving the cheat. For CS2, he could have released an unfinished version long ago and cashed in, but he decided to wait till the cheat met his standards, which shows he cares about the quality of it. B tier. Duari. Duari is an interesting person. He seems to not take himself or his cheat seriously. Primordial has always been very bad for CS2, especially with the questionable decision that Duari made to not include any exploits in his former rage cheat, and instead prioritize the legit bot. Primordial was cracked instantly, and is definitely not a cheat someone should use for legit cheating, so I'm not sure what's even the point of Primordial. It seems more like a hobby than a job for Duari, and just something he's doing out of boredom rather than profit or integrity. D tier. Typedef. Typedef actually seems to care almost too much about his cheat. He cares more about the community that he's gathered than money or status. He's perfectly content with his cheat remaining niche and small. Similar to Takedown, he's another person who stays behind the curtain. He's always updating and adding new features to his cheat, while staying in his lane. For the type of dev he wants to be, he is definitely an outlier in this list. B tier. Avalon. Avalon is a new cheat dev to CS2, and is one of the few devs on this list that actually takes feedback and will try to add features that people request. He's always updating obstruction and trying to make it as best as it can be. He also cares more about his users than making money. A tier. Zebleer. Zeb is also new to the CS cheating scene, but he has plenty of experience with his Call of Duty cheats. For just CS2 though, he's made it as secure as it can. Not the best cheat feature-wise, but for legit external gaming, he's done all he needs to do, and he values security more than anything. If he dedicated more time to a CS2 cheat, it could easily be one of the best externals of all time. B tier. Flo. Flo has been around for a long time, previously Unity hacks and then with Oxide. Unity hacks was not that good and got detected a few times. As for Oxide, besides the detection with glow they had, it seems to be in a decent spot. Flo tends to not take criticism well and ban anyone who says anything negative about Oxide. While he's had a lot of questionable moments, overall he seems to at least care about his cheat. C tier. Reese. Reese joined Zeus around 2018, but after Zeus died, he moved on to Nemesis. Nemesis, despite being cracked, was one of the best HVH cheats. Nemesis borrowed a lot of code from Zeus, which is fair, but similar to Zeus, it died pretty quickly. Reese, despite having some rocky moments, was a really good coder, and I'd say he's underrated. B tier. And that's the tier list for most of the CS cheat devs. Once again, this tier list isn't only based on how good their cheats are, but rather them as a developer. It's a shame most of these devs could be A tier if they weren't so lazy or actually cared about the quality of their product.